Yeah, so today is part one of, it's a two-part thing. And today's session will kind of have three main parts. Number one will be myself and then Fabio doing quick presentations of our own. Then we'll have about an hour for people to get into breakout rooms and just chat and talk, network, talk about what they're working on, projects, things like that. And then the third part is the poster presentations, where we're going to have, let's see, two, four, six, eight, nine presenters talking through 5 rounds. So those will also be in two breakout rooms with two people in each room, except for the final one, which is just James by himself, because everybody wants to listen to James. And so yeah, for non-presenters, feel free to pick which one you'd like to take a look at. You can see them in the game board. All the posters are already there, so you kind of know which one. You can pick the one that's of most interest to you. I think, yeah. Any questions or anything or?
All right. Soon I will start the breakout rooms. I think people will slowly join, so I'll make like um 10 breakout rooms for now, and then the participant. Let's try to, since there's just a few of us for now, we can try just to be like four in each room, 4 or 5, and then we can start.
Keynotes first, though.
Yeah, for keynotes first. Yes,
Yeah.
sure. Whoops. And all right, Martin, up to you if you want to wait a little bit more or go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I practiced a bit last night and went a few minutes over, so I gotta kind of cram this cram this in here. Okay. So yeah, if everybody's okay, I will get started. Yeah, you can have a look on the game board on page 5. Um, I don't know. Should I share the screen or everybody has access?
Whatever you feel comfortable with, man.
Yeah, no, just
Yeah,
yeah.
I think you should. I think you should.
I should. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if I
And
can
then
do.
you can highlight stuff that you're talking about, whatever. Yeah.
Share screen. Oop. Okay. Can you see the screen? Is that
Yep.
okay? Yay. Okay. All right. So, okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Martin. I'm one of the LLP people and, co-host with Fabio. Um, and today I kind of want to talk about picture books a little bit. It's a real big passion of mine, so I could talk for hours about it. It's going to be tough to kind of cram this into just 10 minutes or so, but I'll do what I can. I also thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about picture books because I don't think it's something that people think about when they think about ludic objects, when they think about games and things like that. Probably, I mean, everybody here, I'm sure, has experience with picture books from when they were a little kid, but a lot of classic picture books are very just, sit, be quiet, have a look at the book, listen to the teacher, your parents read it, book's finished. Okay, let's go on to something else. But I think there's a lot of other ways to use picture books, and especially over time, modern picture books have really evolved in a way and become much more ludic. So I kind of want to touch on some of that, and there's some interesting links that if you are interested in, you can check those out. So the first three parts of the talk are kind of following the LLP ideology. How are picture books ludic? How do they use language? And what's the pedagogy behind them? So I'll explain these a little bit before moving on to part 4 and 5. So in terms of how they are ludic, of course, they're visual. Picture books have lots of characters and interesting settings and environments and art. But not only the art, I think it's really interesting to look at the text because it's a picture book, right? Most of them have text of some kind. So just even looking at the font choice, the color, the size, the placement, the juxtaposition of the words and letters, that's just as important as as artwork in many cases. Linguistically, there's a lot of playfulness there with rhymes and wordplay, also nonsense words, which I like a lot. If people here grew up with Dr. Seuss, then you know what I'm talking about, making up words. They don't have a meaning, but just playing with the words, the sound of the words, and applying them to weird creatures and things like that. That's a nonsense words. Interactively is really interesting too, inviting children or reader, doesn't have to be kids, to touch, to lift, to pull, whether it's pop-up books or pull tabs, or there's a lot of books. I'm going to introduce two books later, which are really interesting for this. They use a lot of, there's with the kind of increase in or improvement in technology and then the printing process and everything, there's some really cool interaction there. Narratively, also, Of course, most picture books show fantasy worlds, things like that, but also there's interesting way for readers to look at the characters and see themselves in it. A lot of times, picture books are used as mirrors, and that's used later as well. Both windows and mirrors for kids to look at themselves, to see themselves in different situations, and kind of empathize with characters. And finally, interpretively, which is for me the most important part as a teacher. Um, not just to read the book, okay, here's the book, okay, we're done, but to bridge it into something else, some sort of activity and arts and crafts task for students to make it their own. Here that part here, making your own, which I think is similar to how a lot of us use games in our own teaching, where you don't just play the game and say, okay, we're done, next thing. You use the game, and then there's things after having done the game, reflections, discussions about it, taking the game apart, what worked, what didn't work, what did you like, what didn't you like. And I try to do that with picture books as well. So moving on down here, how do picture books use languages? This is one of my favorite parts of picture books because I think picture books have three kinds of language. The first two, I think everybody knows. There's the visual images, as I mentioned before, so what you were seeing, the pictures, the artwork. There's the verbal text, which can be just as important, the letters, the words, the font. But there's also a third language, which is often called paratext, and that's the anatomy of the book. So if you have a picture book, you have the cover, you have the spine, the side, the edge of the book there. You have the gutter, which is where the left and right facing pages meet in the middle, that kind of where it the kind of binding in the middle. You have the end papers, which is where if you flip the cover open, that's the very first page stuck on the back of the cover, the front and the back covers. There's also back matter. Some books have that, which would be like a glossary or some kind of index or sometimes extra information about, if the book had a lot of things about birds or insects, it may have some pictures of those and some like facts and things about it. And the paratext, I think, is really cool because it's such a difference than normal books. Like most, if you go to a bookstore and pick up a novel, yeah, it's got a cover, but that's pretty much just to draw your eye to make you buy it. The cover isn't super connected to the book itself. You don't need it because you're reading the book and you're seeing the images in your head. But with a picture book, all these parts of the book, the paratext, these are all very conscious and purposeful design on the part of the creator. Everything was thought about and made on purpose. So some picture books now, especially modern ones, if you look, a lot of them have how would I say it? That kind of wraparound cover. There's a paper, which is the cover, but you can take that off and the book is under it. Sometimes that inner cover will have different images than the paper on top of it. So there's this sort of, it's almost like Easter eggs if you think in movies or games. A lot of picture books have Easter eggs now that if you look at all these pieces, you can find some really cool stuff. One more example is there's a really nice children's book called Yo Yes, which is a really simple story about these two boys. One boy is really sad, he's lonely, he doesn't have any friends, anybody to play with, and this other boy sees him and tries to get him to like, hey, I can be your friend, let's play together. Very simple book, but if you look at the book, always the two boys, one's on the left side, one's on the right side of the open book. In the middle, you have this gutter, this white space, which acts as both a physical and an emotional barrier. It's keeping them apart. This kind of negative space. But throughout the book, as they're getting closer and closer, they move towards each other. And the final page where they run off together to go play, they're broken through that barrier and they're on the one page together. So they've crossed this gutter. So this physical element which you need for the book to so it doesn't fall apart is actually part of the storyline. Finally, we have the pedagogical part here, which I won't read all of this, but I think language is really useful for this because just like books, picture books can be in first person, they can be in third person. They're nonfiction books, so they sort of, for a lot of kids, picture books are their first experience with literature, with a literary medium. So showing them there are many different ways to tell a story can be really, really interesting. Cognitively, just approaching books in different ways. When for my own classes, often I have students who ask me to read a book multiple times. I'll read the book on Monday and then they want to read it again on Tuesday and then maybe Thursday, Friday, but I don't want to read the book the same way again and again. So I try to use these different skills, for example, making predictions. What do you think will happen next? What happened at the end? How would you have done it differently? Do you remember what happened last time? What happens on the next page? So checking those cognitive skills can be really powerful. Social and emotional, both very important. So the social side, a lot like games that we use. They can show situations of, in terms of teamwork, working together, sharing, waiting, having patience, friendship, conflict resolution, which is very important for little kids because they need that to grow up into functional adults. And then you have the emotional side, which is very powerful. Many modern picture books deal with a wide variety of emotional situations like anger and sadness, anxiety, loss, grief, jealousy. And so these are ways for kids in a kind of safe area, safe way to see these emotions, see them happen in the book, and then sort of think about themselves. Again, this mirror, they can see themselves in the character. How would I react to this? What would I do in this situation? Visual literacy is my favorite one of these because picture books are not, they're not just always pencil or crayon or watercolor. Some are done in CG, some are done with photography, of sculpture. There's so many kinds of artistic styles and mediums, and it's really cool to bridge this so that kids can try it for themselves. So if I mention the name Eric Carle, probably most people know Eric Carle, Very Hungry Caterpillar, Brown Bear, What Do You See? I've done this with my own students where we read the book and then we go over to the craft area and I've prepared different kinds of like origami paper and tissue paper with different colors. Now they can sort of make a collage and mix and match and try to create their own artwork in the style of Eric Carle. So showing them there's all this different type of artistic medium out there. The final one here is cultural awareness. Again, with more modern books, there's a lot of books about with strong messages of diversity and inclusivity. Um, I have a link here to a paper that I co-wrote with some other teachers about windows and mirrors for cultural awareness. So in the case of that one, I used a book about the daily life of children around the world in different countries. And something that was really interesting I noticed was that, yeah, my students, they saw that, okay, kids in Italy and Iran and India, they have different, they're different than us. They eat something different. But more than that, they noticed the similarities that, oh, they play the same games as me after school. Their classroom looks really similar to mine. So they not only saw how other people and other cultures were different, but how many were similar and they shared so many things together. That was a really strong message for them. Let's see, moving on down. Oh, sorry, Fabio. I will speed up here so you have time. Um, Part four here, just there's some links here to a few of my favorite books actually read by the authors in many cases. You can really get a feel for these books, see how they do them. Um, One here, Mix It Up. This is a really, really nice one with the interaction. It's a book about mixing colors. So it would have on one page, it would have like a big glob of yellow paint, and on the right side, a big glob of blue paint in the picture. And then the text would invite the reader to smear your hand across it. Obviously, it's a picture, so nothing's going to happen. But when you go to the next page, it looks like it's been smeared and now it's green in the middle. So it's a way for kids to physically interact with the book, depending on how you present it as a teacher, and they can see how it's done, mixing the color, patting the color, closing the book, hitting the cover, opening it again. Oh, it mixed together. There's a lot of really cool ideas in there. And the one below it, Book with No Pictures. I'm not going to spoil this one, but I highly recommend checking that one out. It's kind of antithesis of a picture book because it's only words, but it's a picture book. That's a really cool one. The one on to the right of it, Question Book, is really cool, but I couldn't find any videos of it. You may be able to find images of it. This one is just big pictures, big illustrations of people and settings with a question at the top. For example, a whole bunch of kids in a classroom, a painting, and the question will say, which of these students do you think is the funniest? There's no answer. There's no way to know. But it's really interesting for the kids to look at it and say, I think this kid is the funniest. Why? Oh, because da, da, da. So the kids are bringing their own experience and context into it. There's no right or wrong answer, but there's a lot of interesting discussions you can have. And finally, at the bottom, how do I use pictures in my own classroom? In all my classes, always use songs, games, picture books. Those are like the big three for me. But I kind of feel picture books for me are the most accessible and most versatile because not only can I read the book, but we can discuss the book and we can create something after reading the book. So there's a lot of value in it. I always use what's called the whole book approach, and there's a link here to a website that explains that. This is a book written by Megan Dowd Lambert, in which you're not reading to kids, but you're reading with kids. So the main purpose is that you are looking at the whole book, like I mentioned before, the gutter, the spine, outline, the covers, the back matter, and it's a dialogue the whole time. Kids should be talking while you're talking. You're talking, what do you think will happen? What do you like on this page? What happens next? Rather than them just being quiet and listening and you're reading. So it's a continuous dialogue and exchange. They're engaged the whole time with the whole book. The last part here is the post-reading projects, which is kind of a major thing for me as I really like art. And you can click there and see this is a link to a bunch of files on a Google folder, all the books I've read with my students and the art projects that we have done to extend from them so that kids can, engage with it beyond just reading. And a major purpose of this is because the children I work with who are between the ages of 0 and 6, a lot of them don't have the language, either in Japanese or English, to talk about some of the strong messages in this book. But through artwork, through creating and drawing and building something, they can express themselves that way. So they're using art as an expression rather than just words alone. And yeah, sorry, that was a lot there, but I hope you have a chance to check out some of these links later. If anybody ever has any questions about picture book stuff, yeah, please get in touch. I'd love to talk about it. All right, thank you very much. All right, Fabio, on to you.
Thank you, Martin. That was great. And I love, like, it's something that I said even in other pages I've been seeing in this game board. I love the fact that you're giving so many resources for people to follow up on actually what you presented. So thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
And now I'll take over. Let me share my screen. I'll share our beautiful game board again. And I will do something as challenging. Oh, check out. As challenging, because I will try to talk about AI in games for education in 10 minutes. So let's go. So I'm a PhD student right now, first year, and the tentative title of my dissertation is incorporating AI in the design of games for education. So the first thing I did, it was going on Google Scholar. I think we've all been there. Can you all see the game board, right? And I typed my keyword, artificial intelligence, serious games, and game design. And I was a bit disappointed by the result. Not disappointed, my expectations were disappointed because I expected to find something, but there's not much out there yet that put together artificial intelligence and game design. Because in a paper about game design, AI was mentioned in list. For example, future research should consider technologies such as AI. And papers about artificial intelligence just mention game design. The game design field will benefit from this, and so on. So I had to take a couple of steps back, and I had to remove either game design keyword or the artificial intelligence keyword in order to find like something there, something. And one criteria that I used, and I actually have some interesting return when I could actually explore what is happening with artificial intelligence and serious game. One of the criteria I used is that I chose only paper where AI components support the learning by interacting with the user. That means that I did not consider paper that had backhand analytics where AI was used to analyze data. And also I did not consider like those papers that uses AI for self-assessment. I considered the one for assessment as long as they give feedback to the students and as long as the students in this design were able to use the feedback again. Because of course, giving feedback and using the feedback is a kind of interaction. So considering the way I'm thinking about AI as a component to support the learning, I have this work in progress thought that I would like to discuss in the next activity with somebody if possible. Can AI be considered game mechanics? I mean, the answer might be obvious. It might be an obvious yes, but I still have to think about it. Maybe game mechanics only as long as there is no back-end analytics, because the definition that I'm thinking to use about game mechanics is game mechanics are the one that express player agency in the game world via action. So the definition of game mechanics, this one as many others I found, always talk about this interaction between the machine, the game, and the student. So let's talk about the kind of game AI as game mechanics that I was able to find First, guess the first appearance of AI in commercial games. I know Martin knows the answer. Any other guesses? No idea? I'll give you 5 seconds. You all know this game. Chess. It's chess the first. I don't know if you know this particular version of chess, but I loved it when I was a kid. And yes, chess, because AI can be defined is actually when a machine is programmed in a way that it can take decision and make action like a human being, basically. The decision making is one of the main feature that defines AI. So in chess, the program analyzes the movement made by the player and takes decision in order now to move. It's not just statistic in this case. But how is it used in serious game? Well, the first and most common kind of serious AI application I found was machine learning. Machine learning is basically what enables computer to learn from data and make decision or prediction without being programmed to do so. So in normal programming, they're programmed to give certain answer. But in machine learning, they are not. The program tells them how to behave and how to analyze the data, but the way they actually give the answer or make decision is not explicitly programmed. This was machine learning. And machine learning in games for language learning, it was often used for voice recognition. So voice recognition, we all know what it is a program that recognizes the voice and is able to understand what voice means and get out the meaning out of it. And with machine learning, for language learning, they create database. For example, if there's a game for learning Spanish, they create database with Spanish speakers. They create database with English speakers, sometimes native, sometimes non-native, in order to be more accurate. Evaluation. This actually connects again to machine learning, because when machine learning software use voice recognition, often the voice is not only analyzed in order to get out the meaning, but it's also evaluated. The voice is given a mark, a point, a score of some kind. And difficulty adaptation is another feature that I found. Difficulty adaptation, in games, when it's way too hard, in some games, you die too many times, then the games tell you, do you want to try an easier version? In those versions, it asks the player, but some AI feature can decide to adapt the difficulty by itself. And I think it could be actually appropriate, because it's not based on the learner preconception of their level, which is sometimes, is not tuned with the game difficulty, but it's actually analyze the data, this AI feature, and adapt the game based on it. The last one I would like to mention is emotional recognition via text-to-speech, which involves facial emotion detection and the automatic assessment of sentiment through visual data and text analysis. To be honest, I just seen mention of it in a game. I didn't see a game using it yet, but it's something that is rapidly becoming more popular and it's getting, people are starting to use it more and more, especially in more than in games, in virtual reality environments. I've been seeing that happening. And then I crossed out this generative AI for NPC. I put it there because I'm so excited as a gamer. Like, imagine any RPG you ever played when you have to select the answers that you want to give an NPC in order to get some information and in order to start a romance or whatever game you're using, With generative AI for NPC, you will actually have to talk with somebody with an AI that is simulating a human or a monster, whatever. And you will actually have to try hard and actually speak in order to get the information and get the result that you want. I am so excited about it, and I cannot wait to see it happening, but I have not found a game that actually uses this technology yet. So I would like to give an example about most of these features I found, and I will use the Gemara's dictionary, not because it's the best, but it's because it's the one I know. I wrote a design case about it, so I know a lot about it, and I will tell you something. This game, look here. In this game, you have to create a realm, like in Age of Empires, and to create the facilities, you need gold. In order to get gold, you have to kill monsters. To kill monsters, you have to press this little button here and say, in this case, octopus. The voice recognition recognizes the production and send them through API to the AI development server. There, in the development server, the production is evaluated and assigned stars and color, as you can see here. The machine learning of this particular game, which is made for Japanese, young Japanese learner of English, the machine learning is being built not with adult production, is being built with voices of non-native English learner, mostly Japanese. Because a machine learning system created with voices of adult is not able to recognize sounds that kids could make, than Japanese kids could make sometimes when they try to produce English. So a personalized form of machine learning was actually very important in order to make this voice recognition software effective. And difficulty adaptation. That's because it happens during the testing phase of these games, the students will get it wrong multiple times. AI is not, this doesn't have emotional recognition, this software here, this game here. So when a teacher answers a question or try to get a certain phoneme or certain level of production from a student, if the students, especially young, get it wrong, most teachers will say, oh yeah, okay, that's good enough. But the machine doesn't do that. A machine doesn't have that sensibility. And here the difficulty adaptation worked in favor, because during the testing phase of this game, kids started crying because they could not pass the level, they could not get the outcome they wanted. And the AI just didn't care, of course. But with this feature, the AI, after recognizing production that was not up to the passing bar, it lowered the level, the passing bar a little bit. So the students, not even keeping improving just a little, not enough, but just a little, will be able to move on and pass and get the stars and the colors. And yes, what else can I say about this? So this is the stage that I found AI being in right now. These technology are all advancing, and there's still a long way to go in order to make them extremely effective enough, or in order to substitute even teachers to a certain degree. But I found that when it framed as a game mechanics, I think that AI in serious game for learning will find their area of action. Oh, it's time. And in this game in particular, it's used for homework, for example. It's not a game used in class. It's used for homework to have the production. And there is a lot of implication that can be, there still have to be explored. For example, when the student cried after getting it wrong 3 times, who's to blame? When we're talking about the interaction between AI and user and learner, especially young learner, who's to blame when mistakes are done, when something goes bad, when something goes wrong? Another interesting implication to consider, I actually forgot it. Give me a second. Oh yeah, for example, this is homework, this game here. Students did not have a preset amount of homework. If they have motivation, they could play for as long as they want, they practice as long as they want. That created actually gaps between user and non-user. They go back in class after a couple of weeks, and the game was so effective in motivating the student that gaps happened when there were no gaps. That means that a student improved a lot more than other, which is a good thing. But if it's not possible to regulate or control or monitor well enough the activity that the user and learner are carrying and doing when they play this game, that actually could lead to undesirable consequences. So implication is something that have to be considered a lot before moving on with this AI in serious games. And that's all for my keynote. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. All right. Since I'm here sharing, I'll go roll up. And now it's time for Meet Your LLP2P. So introduce your ludic language and pedagogy interests and current projects. Chat in small groups, make connection and collaborate. They will go on until 10:30. I will close the breakout rooms around 10:30. So we will come back here and move to the next stage, which will be the poster session. How do you stop sharing? I've done it. Okay. So Martin, do you think I can proceed in making the breakout rooms? Anything you would like to add?
No, sounds good to me. I wonder if we might, we have, for the schedule, it's 9:30 to 10:30 for the group chat. Maybe we can have the breakout rooms close at 10:25 to give people a quick, bathroom break, or if they need to take a break or something.
All
But
right.
otherwise, yeah, I think we're good to go.
May I interject slightly?
Yep.
I think an hour is quite a long time for us to mingle. Maybe we could have a few minutes of questions for you two, because I think you've introduced so much interesting stuff here that could we just fit in a few minutes for questions?
I'm afraid of question. I'm kidding, of course. Let's do it.
Yeah,
There's so many people nodding, so let's do this.
Okay, so to
Raise it.
Martin first, I guess. If anyone has any questions, or yeah, to either of them, please raise your hand if you have any questions.
I have a question for Martin.
yes, please go ahead.
Kind of the idea, kind of this age transition, to what extent, obviously you're looking mainly with young learners.
Mhm.
How far can we go up to, for example, university learners? I mean, anybody can discuss, mention this, but I'm trying to think of the storybook that I use in class that talks about maybe gender identification types of ideas. It's a little bit more serious, but it's still a kid's book.
Mhm, mhm.
Kind of that. Can you talk a little bit about, how picture books can go from 0 to 20, 25, 30, 45?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, myself, I don't have a whole lot of personal experience with it because I mainly teach preschool, but I do have a lot of friends and colleagues who do use picture books with older students. And by that, I mean university age.
Yeah.
So there are lots of ways to use picture books, like you just mentioned, picture books that deal with, gender issues or social issues. There are several books which really touch on the issue of refugees, for example, which is a big topic right now. And teachers have used these in their classroom as a way to kind of how would I say, to ease students into it, to the picture book is, in most cases very colorful and light in its overall tone, but it may have a very strong message. So it can be a good way to get students to kind of yeah, slowly ease into it rather than yeah, like James here, is scaffolding them that can be used in that way, rather than showing like some kind of news special which shows, a lot of really scary images or things that students might kind of like be frightened of that or back down. But also, let me think, other ones here. Okay, one thing I am planning to do in my own classes, I teach at a university where I have students who want to work in the healthcare industry. So I do have a set of children's books which are focused on health issues, like, don't spread germs, get enough sleep, eat colorful foods, get the food thing. So I have a project in mind where I'm going to use that with my university students because they're very low language, a very low English level, and this may be a way for them yeah, to kind of ease into it and use that. I mean, the messages of the books are very important, but the language is very simple and accessible. So it's a nice way, rather than just giving them a big textbook or a tome and say, here, read this. A lot of students go, no, I can't do this, to shut down. But I think children's books can be a great way for them to, like scaffold as a stepping stone to get into more difficult or more complex conversations about these topics.
Does anybody else use? I mean, again, I'm thinking more about kind of maybe the pushback students might give as they're a little bit older. They might think this is, children's stuff. I mean, obviously we can approach it in a different way, but none of my students have really pushed back on it. And I'm just wondering, I'm waiting for that to occur, so to speak.
One quick thing though, I think, is when I say picture books, obviously I was talking about like Hungry Caterpillar, but a lot of people see comic books and graphic novels as picture books, and there's lots of titles out there which also deal with more complex material. So that might be, I don't know where you are, Paul, at teaching, but in a lot of, for example, in Japan where I am, students are already really familiar with manga comic books, so that can be another way to. It's not like a kiddie picture book, but this step up, it's still using simple language and visuals. That can be a way to do it too, yeah. But I'm sure other people here have some good ideas too. I think in the chat, a few people may have mentioned.
Jesse has his hand up.
Guys, my mic's back on. Yeah, Martin, what are your thoughts, in regards to, you know, I guess post-COVID, you know, in the schools here in Japan, right? We've seen the introduction of tablets more and more, and with lower and lower grades at the particular schools I deal with. They've come, you know, into the junior high, but not the elementary. But I also wonder, you know, is there, you know, the advantage of the actual physical, you know, book being still used in the, with the lower levels, or do you foresee a future where it's just all going to be on a tablet? Here's the pictures, you know, look through, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think both have their valid points. There's a lot I don't know a whole lot about it myself because I'm definitely an analog person. I like my preschool, we're not supposed to use screens. Everything is the physical book. But I have taught in elementary school before when you have 30, 35, 40 students, they can't see the book. It's you know too small. You're at the front of the classroom. So what I often did was I scanned the book or I used like a projector. So on the big screen of the projector, there's the book. Everybody can see it. It's still a physical book that I am holding, but for those in the back who can't see it, at least they can see the big screen and see it that way. But there are a lot of really cool technological advances with picture books where you can touch the words and have it read it out, or these kind of movable images. You touch something on the screen and it moves, sound effects, music, you know, actually acted dialogue. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. I mean, like Choose Your Own Adventure books, a lot of those have gone digital. So those can be really neat too. So I think I think it's a kind of you know intersection of the two. I don't think the physical book can and should ever be replaced, but there's a lot of really nice digital stuff there that, like you said, all students have a tablet and they can all have their own sort of copy of the book rather than just the teacher, here's my book, you know, because yeah, the books are physical, they can get damaged and destroyed. I have a lot of books that are my own personal collection here. I'm not going to hand those around because it's going to get totally destroyed in seconds. But if students can have their own book in front of them and control the movement, the pages, that's a pretty big point too.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Fabio?
Mm. Yeah, Fabio, may I ask a question then? Did you look at Newcomer by Jason's Newcomer game? He has ChatGPT in his NPCs in that game.
Yeah, actually, I just saw it, but I didn't look at it. I did like thoroughly, as I should have actually.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah, like because I was focusing like on the literature, like what I could find in the thing mentioned in literature and so on. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you might want to look at, I think it's Saito from Juntendo University. She's doing pronunciation and AI evaluation type stuff, type of research. It's not in games, but kind of looking at some of your human judgment versus AI judgment related to pronunciation. I think they just came out with a few studies related to that. I'll get the names. I need to go scurry off and find the name more clearly for you and put it in, but
Thanks. I wonder, right? Because now the judgment of the AI is mostly based on data that's been machine learning has been fed. So it's completely different from the way human judge to a certain extent, right? So I wonder when and even if it's possible for that kind of evaluation, AI evaluation to come even close to consider all that a human consider when they evaluate stuff.
I think you'd be surprised. Have you played with the new ChatGPT on mobile, like speech to speech? That thing's wild. I was in the States just last week with some call enthusiasts, and yeah, Fred Poole and Jason Newcomer. They said okay. They said to ChatGPT like I'm a Japanese learner or whatever. I'm a Chinese learner. I'm a Spanish learner. Give me some questions and test my ability in the language until I can't answer anymore, and then give me an assessment based on the Cepher levels. And the thing like did it. It said, oh, based on the conversation that we just had, you're a B2. I was like, whoa, like this thing is wild.
I can do that too. Okay.
Yeah.
Just talk to me 2 minutes and I'll tell you what level you are. No, but you know, you said that I'll be surprised, but to be honest, I will not be surprised of being surprised. You know what I mean? I've been surprised so much by AI that if I've been surprised again, I will like, yeah, I expected being surprised. So yeah, I'm very excited to be honest. And I'm seeing this technology going so fast that There should be more about game design and AI out there. That will surprise me.
Mm.
Any other questions? Oh, Martin has a
I
question.
have a quick. I've said before, I know almost nothing about AI and all this stuff, but something, I'm a big video game fan, and something I see pop up a lot with a lot of recent games. They talk, what is it called? Procedurally generated. Would that be AI? Is procedural generation, is that part of like the AI?
No, that's just your Minecraft algorithm that generates terrain and stuff. Like it's
I
been in games for years, yeah.
I see. Okay, so not AI. Okay. Because I just see a lot of people talk about these kind of things and how like, oh, the game can be so big, there's so many, but a lot of it just ends up being empty and feeling kind of barren as opposed to a human handmade,
Mm.
you want to call it artisanal.
Think of
level.
Dwarf Fortress.
Mm.
There are mainly two ways of using procedural generation. You could look at games like Oblivion, Daggerfall, Skyrim, which procedurally generates map and terrain, and then they ship that out as a permanent fixture of the game. Or yeah, there's of course Dwarf Fortress, which procedurally generates new terrain and maps with each subsequent playthrough. So there's just mainly two different ways of using the algorithm. One for generating permanent content and one for generating content on the fly, but still based on the limited algorithm. So
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay. The one I always think of is the game No Man's Sky,
Yeah,
where
yeah, that's
you
it.
can travel around. It was such a cool idea, but then a lot of it is like, oh, it's just another planet with nothing on it.
Call it a question.
Yeah, I'm not sure with things like the text to speech and AI. I think the use cases are like pretty limited. So like I think it's gonna help people on vacation to a country they haven't been, like find the bathroom on a 2-day trip. But I don't know who else is gonna be like, for example, I live in Korea, my wife's Korean, so I learned Korean. Any sort of like relationship you want to have with people, even business relationships, you're gonna still have to learn the language. So like imagine two situations, like there's two American business people going to China and one person's going around with their phone like doing this and the other person speaking Chinese. All things being equal, you can imagine who the Chinese people would prefer to work with. I don't know. Like I'm kind of skeptical. Like I saw it, like it definitely works. I don't know how many people are gonna be using it though.
It's getting there. Not yet. No, not the text to speech itself, but the almost instant like translation, speech to
Yeah.
speech. That's what I'm talking about. Like the speech to text has its limitation as a media, but the speech to speech technology is almost there. Takes a second now, most of the time, but it's better to learn the language indeed.
But yeah, like imagine using it like you have your phone out and your friend or your brother-in-law has his phone out and you're like taking turns doing this. Ugh. Like who wants that?
You're thinking too narrow though. I think in the future you probably just have a headset on and you're just speaking and it's coming into you like straight away. There's no delay. It's just instant translation into your mind via a
Also
headset.
just sounds awful.
I
All right. Anyway, I think we're getting way off topic.
Anyways, yeah, I don't
so-
want to get us on a tangent.
All right.
just-
Any other question before we move on?
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's move
Fabio.
on.
Oh, sorry.
I'll go in. Go on.
We know that these large language models have similar biases that the people who have written the online text or books that the language models are trained on have. So this seems like a concern, right? If you told your student, hey, have this conversation with AI, right? These sort of biases. For example, I saw an article the other day, I think in the Times. It was like 3 prompts. Show me pictures of a beautiful woman, show me pictures of a normal woman, and show me pictures of an ugly woman. And all of the like biases that humans have were just, the AI was just, covered in our same biases. Do you think this is a concern for language students?
It could be depends, of course, if you have like completely freedom on the usage of the AI technology, yeah, it's a concern indeed. And monitoring, it's extremely important when it comes to use it for educational purposes, some kind of monitoring. And there are features, even when it comes to homework, there are features that allow teacher to monitor the activity of students in with certain programs or even games. They can check how much they played, what did they use, what did they get wrong. The monitoring features are very advanced, and I think they should always be there. And the freedom should be limited as long as we are in an educational setting for educational purposes. Because we just don't know, right? How far can they, like, okay, they have a conversation with an NPC for a game, maybe in the future, not yet, but can it go wrong? So, for example, when it comes about language practicing, the way I see it, I think it will help, for example, thinking about the Cephar descriptors that often have like one of the descriptors for speech, for verbal production is like the student is able to understand direction and information about a familiar topic and blah, blah, blah. If the AI is informed with this kind of background, then it could provide like good practice to achieve that level of Cepher, for example. But I feel that for now, the freedom has to be limited, should be limited, of course, and the usage monitored. I'm thinking about K-12.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right, Fabio, shall we get those rooms going? Oh, I think your microphone is off.
Sorry. So I'll open like 4 breakout rooms, I'll say, and I'll assign manually. Not automatically assign. Okay, see you there, guys.
For it.
All right, so I think I'm sharing my screen here, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, I just came back from a talk in Calico in the States, and this is one of my slides. This is how I started my presentation. Can you see this? A radical idea. We don't need any more games. And now I'm going to talk about making a game. So I feel very hypocritical, but hey, the point is we don't need any more, but they're still nice to have. My argument here actually was just that we actually need to know how to use existing games, right? There's enough games to use. We just need to know how to use them. But yeah, I'm going to talk about making a game, and this is the nitty-gritty of publishing a card game, a physical game, at least from the Japan context. So I made a game. It's called Keigo, which it basically means like polite speech in Japanese. There's multiple levels of polite speech depending on who you're talking to. And I created a card game to teach basically, well, just to practice using it, really. I think there's something similar exists in Korean, maybe in Chinese as well, I'm not sure. But yeah, I know that there's different levels of like endings of verbs and depending on who you're talking to. So it's basically like that concept. So how did I come up with it? So I'm just going to talk about the journey essentially. So I came up with the game fairly easily in about 2018. I was just looking at my old files. And yeah, it was about 2018 when I came up with the actual idea. I just sat on the train, didn't open my phone, put on some music, just thought about game ideas. And I think I've got them here somewhere in Obsidian as org files from back in the day. But come on. Okay, he's not loading. But yeah, I just thought of loads of different ideas. And one of them was this idea of remixing another game. I don't know if you're familiar with the game Hanabi. Has anyone played this game? Essentially, this game is quite unique in that... Oh, that doesn't tell you anything. Hanabi card game. This game is unique in that your hand is opposite to you. So instead of you looking at the cards, everybody else can see your cards, and they give you information about your hand in order of what to play. So I thought, well, I should actually get the game. I should get Kegel. I'll show you what it looks like because I've got copies of it downstairs. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I should have brought the game. I'll be right back.
Okay, this little intermission has been sponsored by lasagna, whatever.
What kind of lasagna?
Can I don't know. It's called the Cecco.
The Checo.
It's the one with the not linear. And you know why it's not linear? I don't know either. James is back.
He
Yeah,
returned.
we're talking about lasagna now, James. So
Okay, so yeah, this is what it looks like. These are the actual cards. And so how this game works is that you have a roll card, and the roll cards have your social standing. So 4 is the most kind of what would you call it, like erai, the most senior person is 4. And then it goes down to all the way to 1. So if you've got rank 1, you are the lowest rank of person. You are a child, or just a scrub, basically. So you hold this card away from you so that everybody else can see your roll, but you can't. And then you've got a bunch of verb cards. So these are literally just verb cards in Japanese. So here you can see this is miru, which means to look or see or watch. That's yomu, which means to read. And then there's all like the different ways to use it based on who you're talking to below. So that's talking about the person, that's talking about you, and that's just like a polite version of the verb. So in your hand, basically, you have 3 verb cards and then 1 roll card, which you don't look at. And so you use your verb cards to talk to other players. And based on how you are spoken to, you get an idea of what your role might be. If someone talks down at you, like a low-level speech, low-level kind of, speech, then you know, oh, I'm probably 1 or 2. But if someone's like super respectful to you, then you're like, oh, I'm probably 3 or 4. So it's basically like a hidden role card game based on Japanese polite language. And so yeah, this is what we made. Martin helped me with the art, and yeah, hopefully it'll be on sale in the fall. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this essentially. So the game kind of wrote itself in the fact that Japanese has rules in its language. So the rules of the speech kind of informed the rules of the game, right? So you talk up to people above you, you talk down to people below you, whatever, right? But then the prototyping, I did it in many different ways. I'd just like to introduce a few of the different tools that I used. So initially I used handwritten cards, and I think there's a picture of it on the website. I'm trying to launch, well, I am going to launch my own company, which is the York Game Lab, where I'm going to be producing games from me, friends, and hopefully my students. Fabio's shocked. But yeah, the original kind of prototype was just, cards. You use very, very simple cards. You can see here's a verb card, suru, and then like different ways to say suru. And then we just use a plain deck of cards to be the roles, like roll 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then from there, I created some kind of little prototype cards using this website called Paperize. There's a link here, obviously. Paperize is a card generation website based on Google Sheets. So you fill a Google Sheet with your information, and then it populates it into a card based on certain parameters. So I've got a bunch of different projects here. Let's have a look. Kegel game. So you can see here that it uses a Google Sheet in your drive. So this is the sheet that it's using. And so it pulls up these headings and then it populates them with whatever's down here. So for example, you can see, let's have a look, the no shitsure verb cards. So I've set up areas on the card. There we go. The title. So the title is this bit up here, and it's pulling from that says Kihonke, which is Kihonke here. So it pulls the text from here. So for example, this will be the first card, and then it pulls all these different parts in basically. And you set it up yourself. You set the parameters, and then it just generates the cards like this way. So I use this for a long time, actually. I use this as my simple prototyping tool for a long time. But of course, you'd have to print it. So here you go. Let's go out of here and then print game. It will download a PDF of the game. And so it looks like this essentially. So you've got the game, you print it out, you cut it, and then you can play it, right? So Paperize I used for quite a while with this game. Excellent tool. There's something I found recently, which I'm also playing with, which is Dexterous Card. I don't think it's on the Google Doc Maker. This is one from some Australian guys. I'm using this one now because it's a little bit more robust. How do I log in? Cheap Shot. I'm already logged in. projects. Okay, so you can see here I'm making this Uni-Life card game. It's a similar kind of vibe. You bring in a spreadsheet, you fill in the details, and it kind of generates the cards for you. So this is another tool that you might want to use for generating like PDFs of cards. From that, I use Tabletop Simulator, which is an online tool. I wanted to play with some of my Japanese students. I'm teaching Japanese, so we got Tabletop Simulator, and as part of Tabletop Simulator, there is a deck making tool where you can again throw in some images, and it will create a deck which you can bring into the game itself. So if you look here, Tabletop Simulator, where is it? Should be installed. It's a lot of games. Tabletop Simulator. Yeah, here there is browse local files. Yeah, here we go. Tabletop Simulator, modding, and then deck builder. So yeah, there's a deck builder that comes with Tabletop Simulator, where you can generate cards for their software essentially. So I used that for a while, and then we got to a point where okay, the game works. It's pretty simple. I also am not employed, but I got help from a Japanese teacher at my university, and he helped me with the cards themselves, just to make sure that I wasn't making mistakes. But then actually this whole game is created in Canva. You may be familiar with Canva. It's a fairly simple tool. So yeah, these are the cards, and well, Martin's here as well. You can tell you about it. But the biggest hurdle to printing and developing a game is the graphics, with bar none. The graphics and the box layouts, like getting all the templates for the companies and stuff. This is the biggest challenge, to make it look pretty. I mean, to be honest, look, you can play it like that. It's a game, it works, but to have something from that to this, that's a lot of work. But fortunately, yeah, Canva, me and Martin, we don't have experience using Illustrator or the Adobe software. At least I don't, Martin may have, but so we just went into Canva, which was a good tool, you know. You can lay out the card as you like, and we created multiple versions of this. But yeah, Canva was good enough for our purposes. So yeah, I've place tested this with students in my lab, my family, Japanese language students on Discord using Tabletop Simulator, foreign exchange students at the university here as well. I already wrote that. No, I didn't write that. But yeah, struggles of developing a card game. 90% of the struggles are graphic design. Going from cheap prototype to polished game is not easy. The language rules. So with this particular game, like, you know, for example, Morao and Ageru, the particular language rules was really difficult. So we put example sentences on the cards for people to refer to. And that was a big step because we were not sure what to do with that for a long time. What else? Knowledge of the process of printing a card game. Yeah, again, I got friends that develop games in Japan, and so I got help from them. To make this game, we actually used 3 companies. We got one company to print the cards, and I can tell you who they are if you're interested. They're called Press Talk Direct. These guys printed the cards. Very, very reasonable price. They're matte cards, so really nice feel. Cost about $400 to create 50 copies of the game. $400, Matt, 4万yen, for 40,000 yen. The boxes, these were from a different company. They were from Popples. These guys did the boxes for us. These were fairly reasonable. I think it was about $50 for 50 boxes, something like that. And then the rule book itself, this is created with just a random printing company that does flyers. This is just a flyer. It's not like a special rule book or anything like that. It's just a flyer, and that was created with I don't even remember. But yeah, it was just another company that did the flyers for us. So yeah, 3 companies for 3 components. That was for 50 copies. And when we created the 50 copies, we actually had to physically, they all came individually like this. They all came individually, and we had to actually make the decks themselves, like one by one. And so my wife was employed for a while to do that. So yeah, I know from industry people in the industry that if you're going to do larger lot sizes like 200, 300, 400, you can actually outsource that to people that do naishoku, like work at home kind of stuff. So yeah, if we're going to ramp this up, there is the possibility to get other people to do it. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say about creating a card game. Oh, how I'm going to use it. So this game, I'm actually now working on a research project in elementary schools in Japan, where we're going to try and take it into my local prefecture here and get elementary school students to play it and see if it helps them improve their knowledge of keigo. I also think it has applicability to Japanese learners. So I'm going to be trying to play this with foreign exchange students to see if it helps them. And I also think it could work in office and professional development places. For example, in Japan, and again, maybe Korea, the hierarchy of who is like the boss and who is the underling or whatever is quite fixed. But I think that if we could play this game in a team building or a professional development setting where I get to talk down to my boss, maybe it kind of brings out that kind of humanity between people in the room. So that's another place I'm trying to use it. And then a friend of mine who works in a special needs school says that, for example, she deals with kids with autism and other not physical but mental disabilities. And she said that they have a lot of trouble kind of integrating in society because they don't have the keigo skill. So again, another place where it could be used. I think that's all I'm going to talk about. We've only got a few minutes. So yeah, thanks for listening. I see there's some chat here. Let's check that. Oh, the top of the box. Yeah. Top of the box.
No, don't do it.
We actually messed up with this one. This one says nice keigo, but then we flipped the graphics. So it's actually kind of wonky.
Yeah, that's my bad. Fully my
So, yeah, good job. It was only 50 copies though, right? Okay.
I do want to kind of mention to people how important the playtesting aspect of it was. I know we don't have time to show it all, but like this game went through multiple versions for design, color. You know, I'm colorblind, so I'm not good with that. James was able to find good sort of like colors that complement each other, that where you like using a color wheel to show that's for the so they're not too like garish or flashy. And a big part was showing those roles. So we were that was probably one of the biggest thing, if you're holding the card, how do you tell at a glance if someone's role is higher or lower than you? Like first we just did numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, just numbers, yeah. But we thought like, oh, 4 must be better, right? Because it's a bigger number. But other people thought, oh, 1 is better because like first, second, third, fourth. So there was that. And then we started doing with like icons. Someone mentioned about using like, for example, Minecraft, like diamond level, platinum, gold. But that didn't, I don't really play a lot of those kind of games. So that didn't really resonate with me. So, but playing it multiple times with different people, play testing and their feedback, eventually we ended up with what James just showed, where you have that physical height, you know, that's like top to bottom. Yeah, with the top being the highest level, and then at the bottom is the lowest one. Plus there's numbers as well. Plus it's highlighting with color which one you are. There is, as far as we can tell, no way to mess that up.
So yeah, thanks for listening. And if you'd like to publish something with the York Game Lab, yeah, let me know. I'm definitely looking to have educational board games and card games and video games even published. The core idea of the York Game Lab is because I teach a seminar class at university where students are researching, not English, not even language learning, just education and games. So I've had students create prototypes in the past that have just been fantastic, and I'd love to see published. And so the idea is that they can publish their games and then put that on their CV as like, hey, I actually made a physical game, employ me because I'm awesome. So again, the main focus of this is not money per se, but to have my students just have a badass resume. That's the main goal.
And that's rad.
All right.
Yeah. Any other questions or anything for James?
Literally,
It's
this
a really cool game. Like Korean's totally the same in terms of verb endings and
well, if you tell me
it's a
if
very good idea.
we could make a Korean version, we can have that as the next product.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Jesse.
Yeah, wow, really awesome. I'm impressed, and I can really appreciate the, you know, the what's the word, kind of the evolution of how you said, things take a long time, and it's been the same situation with our case. You just go through so many versions and little things, and then you finally end up with, okay, this is it. At least it's always a work in progress, but you got to the point where you could say, okay, we're done. We can put a stamp on it. So yeah, congratulations. It's really great. I guess my question is, I wonder about, um, you know, like, I guess it's more along the lines of like, distribution, or trying to actually, market and sell these things. Because I know it's, you said it's not about the money per se, but have you given much thought on how you might do that, or what avenues would be the most logical in your situation? Or
Yeah, that's a great question. This is not my day job, so like I said, it doesn't, if it makes it or break, it doesn't really affect me too much. But there are, I'm putting feelers out to a bunch of different conferences. For example, there's one in September that is all about games and learning in Japan. There's also the Game Market, which is a huge kind of board game convention that happens twice a year. And I'm definitely going to be printing. I know basically, okay, a little bit of backstory. So I have a student at my previous university who made a game and sold it at the game lab and got like 5 to 10 job offers, because, and this is what's really inspired me to actually do this myself. So I've seen students actually, well, at least a student, no, 2 students do this in the past, where they've made a game and sold it at the game market. And I think that having a game at the game market, or one of these huge conferences, or sorry, conventions, is a great way to connect with others in the industry. And hopefully I'm going to, spread that way. So just little by little, I think. Yeah.
cool. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah, this is related in the business sense. So at the university, obviously, we have some conditions in owning businesses.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you've talked to, and I don't know I mean, I don't know the specifics, but usually you can't own more than 50% of something, especially a business. So,
Yep, it's on the to-do list.
okay, I was gonna say, to what extent is
Yeah.
this kind of,
At the moment, it's just me doing it for fun, but yeah,
right,
I'd like
right.
it to be a business at some point. Yeah.
And again, the university, what support are you going to get? I'm sure they're going to give you more support than, yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. But there is
I'm a bit
49%.
worried about it. Yeah.
Yeah, just from personal experience. So, yeah.
All right, gents, you want to wrap it up?
All right. James, I think you wanted to also mention about the LLP membership stuff.
Yeah, sure. So no, we've got people here. So LLP, it is basically a free open source, open access journal, but there are some costs at the back end of this. We have to pay about $250 a year to get the DOI numbers, and then the server costs and stuff like that. So we're actually thinking of starting a membership for LLP people that are interested in LLP, to help support the journal not become vaporware essentially. So another reason that we're trying to start a membership is that if we get 100 members, then we can become an official gakkai, an official academic society within Japan. So we've actually set up a membership situation where there's free membership. We just need a list of members essentially to become an official registered academic society. So it's not like, hey, we need your money. It's more like, hey, we need members, but some money would be nice to help the journal not disintegrate. So if you're interested in becoming a member or a paid member of LLP, I'll just throw this link in here. There's a form where we'd love to get your details. Again, there's no pressure to be a paid member. It would be nice, but it's not mandatory. We also have merchandise for sale. So if you become a paid member, you can get like discounts on the shirts here that you can see people wearing. I also have some stickers and well, the hoodies which will be coming soon. I really like the hoodie. The hoodie's sick, which is actually embroidered. So yeah, if you're interested in helping to support the journal in its journey, please consider becoming a member. Thank you. You threw the edit link. Okay. I'll get the normal link then.
All right, I'm looking forward for the hoodie too. There's
Not quite the season, but hey.
never enough hoodies, I feel. You always need an extra black hoodie.
It's winter season here. I would love a hoodie.
Yeah, enough for Carlos.
So yeah, that's basically the end of today, right? Martin, Fabio, would you like to do some closing words?
Yes, thank you everyone. Thank you to all the presenters, to all the participants for joining us in this event. I love the presentation and I had the chance to witness, and I love to be been able to talk about my research through the keynote. So thank you so much. Martin, you would like to say something?
Yeah, pretty much same. Thank you to everybody for coming, especially to our presenters for taking the time and effort to put some great posters together. And hope everybody's looking forward to next weekend, next Sunday. I'll send out an email to everybody who's registered shortly before, probably on the Saturday, with the Zoom link. I don't know if it's the same link, whatever. I'll send the Zoom link for next Sunday. It might be the same, might be different. But yeah, we hope to see everybody and hopefully even more people for next weekend. So have a
Yeah,
great week.
and
I'll see
in the
you.
meantime, if you do want to chat with us, there's the Discord, which is always open 24/7, where you can come and chat with us anytime. So yeah.
So next week, the program is like we have Camilla Zamboni presenting from Wesleyan University. She's amazing and she created an amazing game. She will talk about that. Then we will all talk about the Ludic we love. So we'll talk about or Japanese drum or Pathfinder. I don't know, maybe together, whatever. And the last part will be a discussion topic. We'll have a topic to discuss and we can just bang our head at each other, hopefully in a positive and proactive way.
That's right. Yeah, when everybody registered, you kind of indicated which of the topics you liked. So Fabio and I are going to be taking those results and making the group. So that'll also be part of the email I send out later next week. To which group you're going to be in.
Jesse has a question.
Yeah, just real quick. I wonder if the recorded video of this will be available at some point, or where we might be able to watch over that.
Yeah, we could make that available on the LLP YouTube channel. It's not a problem.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much again, and I'll see you hopefully next week. If not, I'll see you on Discord. Join Discord. Join Discord.
Yes, please do. All right, see everybody. Thank you.
So much. This
Good
is
day.
great.